30,000 subs. In a world where people get shot by their girlfriends and pretend to be haunted by ghosts on a daily basis, just to get those hot, juicy subs. 30,000 subs is totally a huge deal. I don't even know how I can live a normal life with this level of fame. I can't even go into Walmart anymore without getting looks. I never knew so many homeless people watched my channel. I've started shopping at Steinmart just so I can be at peace. In the Roman Catholic religion I was raised in, there used to be an interesting tradition. In the old times, once a year the parish priest would assemble the entire congregation and publicly confess all of his sins. In that same tradition, I present to you my confession. Except with one exception. All right, before we get started, guys, I want to give you a huge thank you for 30,000 subscribers. I know in the grand scheme of YouTube, it's still an absolutely tiny channel, but it's a hell of a lot more than I expected to get in this amount of time. So seriously, thank you guys so much. It's because of all of you guys that I'm going to be able to make music, talking about music, making music, helping other people make music my full-time job. And speaking of which, I want to give an especially huge thank you to the patrons, because you guys watching is huge, but the patrons actually fund me. They directly fund me just for doing what I do. And that is a huge step forward towards getting me out of a day job and getting me to do YouTube full time. There's been a number of spots in my videos where I haven't gotten things 100% correct. At the time, I thought they were correct, but whether due to poor memory, misspeaking, or just not doing enough research, I got it wrong. I would feel remiss if I didn't go back and correct what I can, so here it is. Got to Give It Up uses your basic R&B and soul formula. 4/4 time, somewhere in the neighborhood of 120 beats per minute. Kick on the downbeat, snare on the upbeat. Okay, I just wanted to say quickly, oh my god, was I cringy. So this kick and the snare are both on the downbeat in this particular song, and they alternate. So the kick is on 1 and 3, and the snare is on 2 and 4. It's still a very common thing in R&B, but I just got that wrong. This is the Dorian mode. I don't know how in the hell I messed that up, but this is the Dorian mode. The girl has a lot of talent. She has a hell of a lot of talent, and the biggest reason why I know that is because she's a Juilliard graduate. Okay, so years ago, when I was in college, I was at a party, and they had one of those music TV stations on where they play the music like a radio, but then they have a bunch of facts pop up about the artist who's playing. One of the facts on that channel said that Lady Gaga was accepted to Juilliard, which is true. I assumed that she attended and graduated, because why the hell wouldn't you? But apparently, she did not attend Juilliard. She was merely accepted. This is the closest to metal that Nirvana ever got, to my knowledge, and it's a great song. It is a fantastic song. To answer your questions, yes, I have heard a number of songs from Bleach before making that video. The two songs you guys cited mostly as being more metal than Smells Like Teen Spirit were Paper Cuts and Negative Creep. As far as Paper Cuts goes, I would say that Smells Like Teen Spirit is still closer to metal. Paper Cuts does have that heavier, lower, chunky riff on the guitar, but at the end of the day, I would call Paper Cuts closer to an experimental punk or experimental rock type of sound. Negative Creep, that one I'm gonna have to concede. Smells Like Teen Spirit still definitely has some really strong metal vibes to me, but I would say Negative Creep edges that one out. Bleach overall does have a harder edge than any of their other albums. I am still by no means a fan of it. And Smells Like Teen Spirit is still my favorite song of theirs, hands down. Bring on the hate. I'm sure bringing on frickin' Taylor York as the new guitar player change their writing influence, but still. You're joining the band called Paramore that has several albums behind them of like an established sound. And you think Hayley Williams is just gonna go ahead and be like, oh yeah, that new guitar player, yeah, he can totally change this to whatever direction he wants in whatever drastic way he wants. This was the most terribly worded thing ever. I did know Taylor York was in the band before Josh left. Before Josh left the band, he was more of an auxiliary guy / songwriter, but he was still a member of the band. In this particular case, for the new album, he was the new guitar player. The way I framed it in that video, it made it sound like Taylor had just joined the band, and that was not the case. Now, as for the Josh Farrow blog post thing, I thought I had done due research on it, and apparently I had not, because he had done an interview with another publication and taken back some of the things he had talked about. All in all, I would still say Hayley is definitely the prime decision maker of that band, but I don't think she is as controlling and domineering as what Josh made out in that blog post. This is off their first, I believe their first album. This was not Red Hot Chili Peppers' first album, so please allow me to correct that. This is off Red Hot Chili Peppers' first album that anyone gave a shit about.
Whoever plays the drum for this song is really good.
Yes, he is. That would be Nico McBrain, who is badass. This one I just got plain out wrong. I know Iron Maiden had a number of either one or two drummer changes in their lineup for brief periods, but I was under the impression that Nico came on well before most of the songs that they played, and that I was just wrong on that. The drummer who I give all that credit to in that video should be Clive Burr, the late, great Clive Burr. And thank you guys for pointing that out to me, because now I'm 90% sure I dig Clive's drums more than I do Nico's. That scream in the back of that, I think there's a shit ton of takes they tried to do to get that perfect, and holy fuck did they nail it. Okay, this story I did misremember, but I still got it pretty close. The story goes that his producer made him redo the quieter intro part a crazy amount of times, and Bruce was starting to get physically pissed off. When the producer was finally happy with that take, he said, all right, now it's time to do the scream. Bruce comes in full of freaking rage, does the scream in one take, and nails it. You hear true rage recorded on that tape. The real story is actually better than the way that I remembered it, so there you go.
Roger Waters just has the most distinctive voice.
I guess you can pick Roger Waters out of a crowd of vocalists. For me, I was never crazy about his vocals. They were good. They did the job. The harmonies are really where Pink Floyd pulled me in. Okay, so I knew that David Gilmour and Roger Waters both did vocals for Pink Floyd. However, I did not know that David Gilmour did the lion's share of vocals for Pink Floyd. So this was just incorrect, lack of research. It's really weird because at that point, I didn't even know that Roger Waters was in Pink Floyd until he said, hey, I want you to do this guitar part, but I really want it to sound like Roger Waters. I said, who the hell is Roger Waters? He almost kicked me out of the studio. Yes, I am aware that Roger Waters plays bass in the band. As a matter of fact, I say as much in the video. And the story I told you guys is actually correct. However, I got the context wrong. My mentor was trying to say that he wanted that part of the song to sound like Roger Waters. Now, at that time, I had no idea what Roger Waters was or who he was with. I didn't even know he was with Pink Floyd. So, I mean, obviously, I didn't know what the hell instrument he played. Later on, I discovered he was with Pink Floyd, and I know he went on to do some of his own solo stuff. Now, I was assuming because he was using that descriptor, Roger Waters was a guitar player. I later found out he was a bass player, but then I was like, well, I guess maybe on his solo stuff he did guitar. I don't know. Now, Roger Waters is essentially the main songwriter for Pink Floyd, so that's where the context finally clicked for me once you guys started blowing me up in the comments section.
Very weird time signature on this one. That was very innovative for then. I know it sounds weird, but it was.
And it still is. That very weird time signature is what we refer to as 7/8. This one I was really tempted to fight you guys on in the comment section, but I held back, and I'm happy I did it. On any given day, the differences between 7/4 and 7/8 are just the notation and the way you say it. That's it. However, there is a part in Money where it switches the 4/4. Now, while it does pick up in tempo at that part, it doesn't pick up nearly enough to warrant calling it 8/8, which nobody in their right mind would call it 8/8 anyway. So given the context of this 7 meter with the rest of the song, I will concede, yes, that is 7/4. But at the end of the day, it's all semantics. It's a 7 meter. Feels great to get that off of my chest. There is one thing I would like to mention. These are reaction videos, so they're just kind of done on the spot. I will get some things wrong. This is not an excuse for getting things wrong, but I will always recommend, do not take my word for it. Go and do your own research and think for yourself. I always advocate people thinking for themselves. If you want videos where I actually do a lot of research beforehand, go to my actual traditional Music Snob videos. They are not reactions. They are thoroughly researched, thought out, and scripted shows. And that's all I have, guys. If I got anything else wrong that you think should be corrected, let me know in the comments below, please. Thank you all again for 30,000 subscribers. Like, really, I can't thank you guys enough. Like I said, I know in the grand scheme of YouTube, I'm still a tiny minnow in a sea of whales, but it's still like awesome to see that and to see the continued growth. It's really exciting. And I know a lot of you have been asking for what my favorite bands are, what my favorite genres, favorite songs, favorite albums. If you guys want lists of that stuff, get me to 100,000 subscribers and those videos will start showing up. And one more thing before I go. There have been a number of you in the comments section complaining that I hold this whiskey in my hand and why don't you sit there and drink the whiskey? Why do you have it on camera at all? Well, today is your lucky day.